In one of my previous videos, I talked about sweats in video games, and I was watching videos complaining about it to get some information from both sides. But since YouTube recommends videos based on what you watch, I started to get videos titled Esports Ruined Gaming, and I was like, hold on, let's see what's happening here. So I decided to watch those videos, and I kind of feel bad for the people that actually agree with this statement. And I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. I genuinely feel bad since their favorite games have changed because of the esports trend that has been going on for the past decade. So in this video, I wanted to give my thoughts on this trend of hating esports or on players that are playing video games competitively. Do I think esports ruin gaming? The answer isn't yes or no, as it really depends. Personally, esports changed my life for the better. As a kid, my parents wanted me to get into some kind of sport. They tried everything from basketball, baseball, football, but nothing really seemed to grab my attention. I do find boxing somewhat interesting, but I think that's more of an interest in seeing people fight and not necessarily an interest in the sporting part of it. And I can just get that from movies. However, in 2013, Halo 4 had a free-for-all tournament, and as I watched it, I pretty much fell head over heels immediately. It was the first time I was genuinely excited to watch people compete against each other, and my interest has only grown since then. I've also seen the trend in the hate against esports from other sportscasters, celebrities, and of course, the gamers themselves, which is what this video is about. A lot of gamers have complained that their games were ruined by esports because they feel like every other player in their game is trying so hard to become an esports pro that everyone else in the lobby is suffering because of it. And again, I genuinely feel bad for those that don't find their games fun anymore because of this esports trend. But is it truly the fault of esports? I think this depends on how esports came into your game. The most popular esports I can name off the top of my head consist of Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Rocket League, Rainbow Six Siege, Dota 2, and Overwatch. All of those esports have one thing in common. Esports came naturally into the game by the community. While I'm sure some of the developers expected the game to become competitive, I doubt they knew they would become an esports, but thanks to the community, they are some of the biggest esports in existence and have been welcomed by both the casual and the competitive community. The problem here is that other developers want to capitalize on the esports trend as well. A lot of the newer games today, especially the battle royales, have forced esports into their games. And while it may have sparked attention for a small period of time, the game suffers in the long run because the developers just wanted a piece of that esports trend without thinking it through, turning games like Fortnite from a casual game to a competitive game so abruptly, causing casuals to be turned off by the game. I don't think it was esports that ruined your favorite game. I would blame the developers for shoving esports into the game without a plan. But some of you may say that esports existing was the issue because without it, we wouldn't be in this mess. However, I'd argue that esports was inevitable with the invention of online multiplayer. When you open the door to allowing people from one place to another to compete together in a video game, it's going to open a lot more doors, such as having a competitive experience, and maybe you'll have battle royales. It's just going to open up so many opportunities that competitive video games were inevitable. Now, I will say that every video game shouldn't be an esport, but you can't really annihilate esports from online video games at this point. And going back to the traditional sports I mentioned before, all the leagues they're involved with, such as the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and the MLS, didn't just appear out of nowhere. All of these sports you see on ESPN started as casual experiences. I'm sure at some point in time, two dudes found a ball and started doing weird shit with it, like hitting it with a stick or kicking it into a net, and just started making games revolving around those concepts. As time went on, people started forming teams and played in little tournaments, and eventually we realized that people would pay good amounts of cash to watch people compete in these games, hence the creation of the sporting leagues you see today. And you bet your ass people were against it at first. But the difference between then and now is that we have platforms like YouTube to rant on, so the complaints about esports are much more vocal and noticeable compared to hating on sports back then. And the general public, especially North America, has this two-faced mentality against esports. Why watch people play video games when you can just play them yourself? Well, same goes with traditional sports. Why watch people throw balls at each other when you could just do it yourself? Oh, that kid must have no life since he's so much better than me at a video game. Well, then the kid in the batting cage has no life as well since he's spending hours on end getting good at baseball. I think esports is hitting that point where we're picking up on the fact that people would spend good amounts of cash to watch these professional players play, and we're forming leagues as time goes on. And sure, it's annoying that there are now kids that play like they're pros in your games, and while that is annoying at times, didn't you have that kid in your class that looked up to someone like Kobe Bryant or Barry Bonds and trained hard to be like them? Even if they had a small chance of becoming the next star, they might find training to become the next big athlete as a fun experience. It might be annoying for the kids at the park that just want to play ball, but hey, maybe that kid might be the next big player and you were just caught in the crossfire. My point is that esports was inevitable to happen and we've seen it go right and wrong. It's up to the developers of the game to properly adjust the experience for casual and competitive players. But to blame esports for ruining gaming is just ridiculous. It's like saying the NFL ruined American football. It was just inevitable to happen. And whether or not you're on board with the idea of competitive video games being a thing, it's here to stay. So that is going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on esports? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll talk to you all later.